The doctor is in the house. Oh no, she didn't. Ooh, my dingleberries. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my bill? Captain's log. The whale's flipping us off. That's friendship, bro. Bro.
Yeah.
Friendship,
God.
bro.
I hate this movie.
Do you want to take it, honey?
No, I don't
Dolittle?
know. I was kind of zoning out a lot.
No, you weren't.
I mean, I
You were not.
I was taking a lot of bathroom breaks because...
And that was my favorite part, because you would come back and I got to explain to you what you missed. You got to sit down and I got to say, you missed the polar bear saying, my dad went out for a pack of seals and never came home. I'm not crying. You're the one crying.
I don't even know where to start.
Friendship, bro.
I don't even know where to start with this movie. This movie was fucking awful.
I know where to start. I had a blast in this movie.
This movie was fucking terrible. I hated this movie. I think everything about this movie is what I hate about movies. I don't know.
Is what you hate about... What other movies have you seen like this?
Well, movies that are like, okay, we need to take studio notes and stuff. And
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So.
Yeah, I had a blast in this movie, not because, well, kind of because of the movie, but more so because I was watching you during this movie, which is great, because if you were a stranger sitting next to me, that'd be weird. And that wasn't going to happen anyway, because this was not a packed house. It was somewhere around Tiger Ray Fiennes getting slow-mo kicked in the nuts.
Oh, right,
and cutting to the rabbit saying, that's gotta hurt! And Ray Fiennes going, my dingleberries! It was somewhere around then where I was like, I'm glad I'm here because your seething rage at watching this movie was my only entertainment out of this thing.
It was so bad.
This movie is... You gotta see this is the kind of movie where I want a documentary about the making of this movie.
You know what? Like, a lot of people that are, like, in college for filmmaking or something,
Yeah.
they need to see this movie to be like, this is what happens when studios interfere.
Possibly, yeah. Like, because there's got to be some kind of epic that is just involved in the production of this film.
In the beginning of it, we were like, the animation was great.
Oh, I don't mean that. I mean... just an epic documentary about making this movie. Because this is a $175 million budget. And the only things I can compare this movie to in my head that are the closest examples of just taking that much money and setting it on fire, like the Joker in Dark Knight, is like Last Airbender or... that Roberto Benigni Pinocchio movie. Do you know what this... I imagine what this is... Do you remember the Simpsons episode where Troy McClure had a comeback, but then when he and Selma broke up, the movie he was cast in after was some kind of steampunk-looking thing with him on like a propeller wing with an overcoat?
Oh, yeah.
I imagine that's what this is. It's gotta be... Because... Here's what, I'll actually start out by saying something nice about the movie. I believe that a lot of people got into this with the best of intentions.
Well, yeah, because Robert Downey Jr. and his wife were executive producers, right?
Yeah, they're executive producers on this thing. And at least in the first 5 minutes, it's kind of like... What I feel they thought going into this...
Yeah, it was cute. Like, it was animated and it was really nice. And it was like this cute little thing.
The animation at the beginning. Yeah, that was well done. I mean, it was kind of clunky exposition summing up a lot of stuff, but...
it wasn't terrible. It was just normal, like, kids' movie.
Beyond that, like, yeah, it was... That animation was good. I leaned over to you and I said, I can already tell this should have been an animated film. So... From the way that a lot of things look in this movie, if you were to just kind of look at still shots or maybe even storyboards for it, I have a feeling they got into this with the intention of making a modern 50s, 60s Disney epic, like the original Dr. Dolittle, or like something like Darby O'Gill and the Little People, or something like that. Yeah, and then somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was like, because this movie is directed by the person who won an Oscar for wrote Traffic. I think he won an Oscar for writing Traffic. Also wrote Syriana. Has like good credits to his name. So already they have someone with talent behind the script, and directing, I'm not sure off the top of my head, did he also direct Syria? Like, I can't remember, but then there was months worth of reshoots that I believe were presided over by Jonathan Liebsman, who was behind that recent Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, you told me about that.
I don't know this, but I'm like...
I can totally tell that this was...
That
someone made this more modern, or like, not even that modern, because...
Well, you mean there's Star Trek references and Rush Hour references.
Well, not even that. It's like all the catchphrases they have.
Snitches
like,
get stitches.
Yeah, it's like from like 2006 or 2010 or something.
You expect at any time a character is just gonna go "What's up?" or something like that. It feels like it's like trying to be an epic like the original, but they hired the animals from the Eddie Murphy version.
Yeah.
Doing like shit jokes. What's wild about this movie? A lot of different things. One of which is, when I got the trailer for this movie, I was like, okay, you know what? I know that there's been a lot of problems in terms of the production of this, the reshoots and everything. There's movies that have gone through reshoots and have gone over budget that at the end of the day, you still get a good movie out of it. When the first trailer came out, I thought, I was playing devil's advocate. I was like, maybe it's in January because this went way over budget. It'd be hard to stand out in December going up against Star Wars and other movies that are definitely going to do well. In January, it doesn't have much to compete with, really. Mm-hmm. So I was like, maybe that's why. And even I was like, the trailer, was like, it looks like it might just kind of be mediocre, maybe. Now, if the movie we got is the movie they advertised in the trailer, that might be the case. This is... I don't know what movie you are picturing in your head based on the trailer alone, but forget about that trailer. There are scenes from that trailer that are not in this movie. There are scenes in the trailer that look serious, but when they're in the movie, they're either quick or played for laughs or played for juvenile humor. That trailer does not show you the tone of this movie.
No, it doesn't. It's very heartwarming in the trailer, but in this, it's...
You would have no idea that there's a scene where the dog's rubbing his ass on the ground, or the constipated dragon, and they gotta pull a lot of stuff out of the dragon's ass. The fart blowing wind from the dragon on Robert Downey Jr.
Stupid.
And the squirrel going, "I can taste it in my mouth."
Wait, did that squirrel actually get revenge on that guy? I mean,
that was one of the many things that was never followed up on in this movie.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be like followed up on. I was like, maybe I missed it.
They don't set up anything in this movie, let alone following up on anything. So you would never know that there would be a scene in this movie where a dragon sets a man on fire and it cuts to a reaction shot of a duck doing a shit joke with an egg coming out of his ass. You would never know that. And that is in this movie. It is through and through this movie. And
I hated this movie.
Nothing.
I hated this movie.
Yeah. Why?
God, so many reasons.
We'll go back to like how it's edited, how things just
happen, and then there's no segue that is really natural at all.
Oh, natural, there you go. Yeah. Because there technically is, for just Emma Thompson coming in to explain stuff.
There's no natural progression into the story at all. It's just like, okay, they're in a fight in a ship, and now they're in somewhere, I don't even know, someplace, and then they're now somewhere else, saving the queen. I don't know, but God, this movie, I hate everything about this movie.
This movie feels like...
And then also with the... Sorry.
Oh, just real quick with the editing, because you can tell there was a lot of stuff that was filmed but aren't in the movie, and they have Emma Thompson summing up what we're missing with narration.
Yeah, because there's the natural segue that you would normally have in a normal movie that's actually good is not there. So we have Emma Thompson talking about it.
Do you remember the Steve Coogan, Jackie Chan Around the World in 80 Days? This feels like...
Barely, yeah.
This feels like if you took that and threw it in a lawnmower and just tried duct taping it back together.
Oh, can I talk about the dubbing in this movie?
Real quick, before we get to the dubbing, the one other thing I'll add to the editing is characters will just suddenly be in places that they were not in the previous shot.
I don't even know where to talk about this movie because
a character will be the bear will be in the water. The next thing you know, he is back there on the ship.
Yeah, or someone will be in disguise or something, and then someone will not be in disguise. There's so many messy things about this movie. I don't even know.
It's crazy because I can, with the way the editing is, I'll seg this into the dubbing. I feel like I've seen movies that have done this, but not on a $175 million budget. Things that I've done on the Cinema Snob from like the early 70s, like Another Son of Sam, or things like that. Like, this movie they butchered this movie. They did. Butchered this film. And the dubbing, you want to take on the dubbing?
He'll be in a mask. Okay, Robert Downey Jr. will be in like a surgical mask, or he'll be turning away, and then he'll be really loud or something. And then he'll also be, I don't know, what else was...
Well, he's kind of doing this like old Welsh type.
I don't even know what kind of accent he's doing. It's like Welsh or Irish or
Scottish.
By
way a little Mrs. Doubtfire thrown in there. If Mrs. Doubtfire had bronchitis...
he turns around a lot, and like they'll do lines that he said, and there's a lot of dubbing in this, and it is fucking obvious.
It's, again, like I said, for a $175 million budget, this is insane. Insane that it has these kind of problems. The dubbing, it's like, I know that's his voice, dubbed, sure. But it feels like I'm watching some other actor come in and dub his voice during the movie. Yeah. Like, and they're doing all of these shots where, like you said, they're hiding his mouth.
It's very obvious. Yeah. Because he'll have a mug, or he'll have a book. It's very obvious. It's
his
like
head will be turned.
This shouldn't be a $175 million thing.
This is the kind of thing I've seen in like Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Or this movie I saw on one of the Snob DVDs, Diary of a Nudist. Yeah. Where it was this old 60s movie with no budget. Well, they were doing that through the movie, where Doris Wishman directed it, where they were having actors with newspapers over their faces, or cutting to someone not talking, or the actor would have a phone over their mouth. So, to cover up the dubbing and things like that. Like,
this was bad.
This is
so bad.
You have no idea, and like it hits you so fast because, like, again, in the first 5 minutes, there were 5 minutes at the beginning of this movie where I was like, okay, I'm being open-minded here. I'm like,
that's how I would say like the first 10 minutes.
Oh wait, when it lost me was maybe 5 minutes in, where so it starts out again. That animation was good, and with the kid finding this magical land to rescue this squirrel, I was like, all right, I'm still kind of with it.
It was cute.
It was feeling like a modern Tim Burton movie, like Mrs.
Peculiar Children's of whatever.
That one, yeah. Like, so I was like, okay, maybe this could be mediocre. Then when they started talking.
Okay.
Where it was shot so bad. It was
better. Okay.
It was shot like close-up of animal talking. Close-up of animal talking. Close-up of animal talking.
I'll say this.
Close-up of animal talking.
When the parrot was talking with, what's her name? Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually not bad animation with the parrot compared to
the dogs.
Lion King?
And,
no, Lion King with the John Oliver character.
Well, Simba's kind of in this movie.
Oh my god, when the animals talk though.
It was like that Lady and the Tramp movie, kind of.
No,
like,
no, the animation was better.
It was slightly better.
No, I wouldn't say slightly. It was better. But when you make realistic... Okay. When you try to make animals look really realistic...
Yeah.
And talk, especially like a bird or something where their lips don't move, or a dog or anything, it looks weird. You shouldn't do that. That's why, like, Homeward Bound works, or something like that. You know, you shouldn't use, like, that realistic animation. Right. It looks weird.
Because it's like, even if, let's say there weren't all these dumb jokes in the movie, because there were a lot of reasons why it immediately started losing me there. One being it's shot and framed and edited horribly. Very claustrophobic, very close up. The voices are like those obnoxious puppy ads on TV where they put a annoying kid's voice over it, screaming at the screen.
It's trying to be cute.
There's so much screaming in this movie.
There is.
But even if that wasn't the case, a movie like the original, and the original one's also not that great, really.
I haven't seen the original.
But at least it looks and feels like a real epic. There's weight to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's gonna look damn good when you compare it to this movie. But like, so maybe it actually will age perfectly fine. But there's at least weight to it. There's scope. There's just old filmmaking ambition to it. Whereas this, with all those special effects, it's fake. There's too much of a distance.
There was a couple of scenes where it was like really epic, where it was like I don't know, them walking into his house and like it was,
you can see the money on screen.
Yeah, there were some epic scenes, I thought.
But I just prefer something older where it looks like you're really in this area, as opposed to looking at a lot of special effects, a lot of CGI effects.
No, I agree with you there, but there were a lot of like epic scenery there.
Sure, with the ship and the storm and everything.
But then when you add in, oh bro, let's go there, like, hey bro, or
a Rush Hour reference and things like that.
And a bunch of references, and then
the whale popping up saying, I'm gonna flip him off.
It was so stupid. And
you know what was weird?
That's where I'm like, that's where it loses me. Like, it's like, okay, you're gonna be this epic and stuff, but you're gonna throw in these really, like, dated references.
In a movie that takes place, like, I don't know, like the 1800s, I guess. I don't know, a long time ago.
Something
a long time ago. What was weirding me out about a lot of it is that, like, beyond these people figuring out that animals can talk and only this man can hear them, they had to have at least suspected this, because even if you don't have Robert Downey Jr. there, I would still be weirded out by the fact these animals are playing cards with each other. And even when it's showing the animal speak, not what Dr. Dolittle hears, I would look at that and be like, they're clearly talking to each other. Where it's like,
I guess so, but I felt like they were trying to go for that whimsical thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't nitpick that.
Oh, I'm going to nitpick that in this movie, because it's a shitty movie. Like, if it was
a shitty movie, but the music in this was fucking over the top too.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it was always like something whimsical happening, and
because it's so stupid. Because there's nothing grabbing me into this world, whether it's our lead character, whether it's the plot or anything. There is nothing that hooks you in this film. Because of that, that's why I'm thinking about things like this in the movie, because I'm being forced to. Nothing's pulling me in. Nothing is making me accept this world they've presented to me. It's edited so bad that when the villain dies, 10 minutes later I was like, oh right, I guess he was dead. Spoiler, the villain dies, sorry.
Oh, I don't think anyone cares.
Yeah, And it's just such a nothing thing when it happens.
I don't even remember him dying in that.
I guess we'll get into some minor spoiler here. There's a part where he falls into a hole that's right behind him. And
I must have not
immediately
paid
cuts
attention
to something else.
Okay, let's talk about the dragon scene.
Oh, was there anything to add to it? Did we talk about the dragon scene earlier?
I mean, not that much, though.
Oh, okay.
We kind of did, but...
Yeah, so the dragon is constipated or something and has stomach troubles, and so they all gather around. Imagine the scene with the spider from Stephen King's It, if instead of just digging the miniseries, instead of just digging inside of it and pulling out something, they just pressed really hard on it and it just farted away. That happens.
They pull out a
bagpipes.
Bagpipes.
Yeah, they pull out bagpipes, a lot of weapons, and I think some silverware and swords or something like that. I do not like the Eddie Murphy ones.
I was gonna ask you, if you like them.
No.
I saw the last time I saw them when I was like maybe, I don't know, 12, 13.
Now I'm like, I never saw the second one, but now I look back on that and I'm like, it's still not good, but it was what it advertised itself as.
Yeah, it wasn't like $175 million put into it, and it also wasn't like advertised in the trailers for this one.
In the trailer for that,
it's like a heartwarming story.
Yeah. In the trailer for the Eddie Murphy one, it put in there where the same thing happens, but with like a gerbil. Like, it pushes down on it like it was just gas. Like, so that, if you went to go see that, you got what it advertised.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, pretty much. So this, like that, you could at least follow just fine. This, no way. Not at all. It's hard to break down this movie, plot-wise and the structure and everything, because it doesn't have it. This kind of bad movie, for the reasons it's bad and for the budget that it has, it's not often that this really happens, where there is just this colossal WTF Hollywood mess like this.
I hated this movie,
I feel bad because I love Robert Downey Jr. And I can tell that
he was bad in this movie.
He was
bad.
Yeah.
He was pretty bad in the movie. Like,
But he was trying.
Sometimes.
Like, I don't know, maybe when it got around to the reshoots, maybe the trying kind of dwindled down a little bit. I would too,
but yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was acting in a way where inside of his head he kept thinking, don't be Jack Sparrow, don't be Jack Sparrow. Or
I can see that.
Don't be Johnny Depp, or something.
Yeah.
And I love Robert Downey Jr., and he's a great leading man. He's charismatic as hell. He can carry almost anything. He's a brilliant actor, and it is heartbreakingly bad, because it's like, you can tell that a lot of people went into this with good intentions.
Yeah.
And for this to be what his first movie is after Endgame, it is a bummer, because he is an actor where I just want the best for. And I know he can do accents, whether it's
I was gonna say
Chaplin or Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah.
I think in that he's doing some kind of old Welsh accent, I think, in this. And
I don't know what he was doing, because it sounded like Irish, Scottish, something.
Everything around him was just failing this movie, though. Like, it's not just him.
No, it wasn't just him at all.
It's the dubbing, it's the editing.
It was the editing.
It's the animals. Did you get any laughs out of this movie?
No.
I got one.
Maybe I'm trying to think of the one. I think I might have laughed a little bit at one,
and I felt like an idiot when I did.
But it wasn't memorable.
Oh, I remember what it was because I laughed, and it was one of these laughs. It was like that, where it's like I need to lower my head in shame. Mm-hmm. It was when that fly almost got killed by the fly swatter.
I don't even remember.
The fly swatter comes down, a fly pops up and says, "I survived. I'm the chosen one." And he flies away like, "I'm going to spread my wisdom to the world." And a bird ate it.
I don't even remember that. I think
it felt like so long ago.
I feel like I just kind of like, I don't care about this movie. I hate this movie.
Yeah.
I hate it. Yeah, there was a moment I was like, I hate this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
I hated this movie.
You did. You looked over, and then I went over to you and went, like, oh, Endgame ain't so bad now.
Well, I didn't say I hated Endgame.
I know, I'm just messing with you.
It's not for me, that's all, but...
Did you like it better than this movie?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I guess so. I guess.
Well, this one's shorter, but yeah, I guess so.
Technically, it's shorter.
I
guess I like Star Odyssey better than Star Wars. I don't know.
I hated this movie. This movie was the worst.
Is it?
This is not starting a good year for me.
Maybe they'll get it right in the sequel.
Oh God, I hope not. I hope there's not a sequel. I hated this movie.
That was another worry I had when they shortened because I was like, the original title was Voyage of Dr. Dolittle, which right there like says kind of has a very epic feel to it, and then shortening it to Dolittle and that poster that was out, I was like, this is trying to lure in idiots who can't read beyond one word.
I was telling you, I was like, the Dolittle poster with Robert Downey Jr. being like, you know, like that. I was
Ducks in the house!
I was like, I don't think he was actually posing for that picture. I think he just realizes he's in a really bad movie. He's just like, ugh. I hated everything about this movie, but I do recommend it because if you want to get upset about a movie, or if you really want to see a bad movie, then see it. But if you don't want to see a bad movie, then don't see it.
Well, yeah. This movie makes me want to apologize to The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper. Like, yeah, the only way I could recommend this is if we were high like we were at Holmes and Watson.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you're high, maybe go see this movie, but like, I recommend it if you're in the mood for a bad movie. You'll get...
You will.
You will. Get what you paid for.
You'll get your money's worth.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of better movies out there right now.
There's a lot more entertaining bad movies out there. That OJ movie we watched last weekend, but
if you want to have a theater experience.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know?
Find a theater that the OJ movie's in. That thing is playing on a big screen.
This is really cringy, so if you feel like having a cringy emotion right now, then yeah, go see it.
It was one of those where, like, when it got to be an hour in, and every time there was a bad pun, I just kept going to you, like,
yeah, like the octopus saying, like, snitches.
Snitches get stitches.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so bad.
I like that we braved bad weather for this movie. There's a snowstorm out there, you can't tell. But it's like we're going to try to make it home and survive. Should we head home now?
Yeah.
Alright. That's Dolittle, ladies and gentlemen. Who...
Bad.
It's of, like, wide release movies of stuff released in January that I've seen. It's the worst.
Yeah, out of movies that are like...
This is worse than The Grudge.
It's a movie that has a huge budget and still fails. Yeah, this is the one that makes me angriest. I fucking hate this movie. I hate this fucking movie.
I love you so much. I love it when you're in a movie like this. You just get passionate about, like,
I fucking hated this movie.
Like Hunter Killer.
Yeah. Well, that one... Okay, with this one I'm a little bit more angry about because it's like, God, this movie is over budget and like so bad and all the puns and all the stupid. Can't articulate. Kind of mad.
Can't use words.
Yeah.
Or form sentences.
No, I can't. I can't even articulate. I can't even articulate how much I hated this fucking movie.
All right. Well.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. How dare you, like, get mad at a bad movie on this channel? Alright, well, check out the Bad Boys for Life review that's up. I've also got the 10 best movies of the year list that is uploaded as well. We'll have the review that Rob and I shot for Weathering with You. We'll have that coming up tomorrow, I believe. So give a watch to all of those. Give us your thoughts below in the comments. Like and subscribe to our channel and all that good stuff. So thanks a bunch for watching, everyone. Take care.
Bye.